I was getting ready to really write this machine off. It has started to chew through batteries, so you don't get as much done on a charge. But just now, I haven't mowed for a while, especially down this end. But it was getting really bogged down on wet grass, and it wasn't throwing it into the catcher. It was getting hooked up on the blades and just spinning. Now when I look in here, you can see that grass that's sitting there. That's because this started to get full. But sometimes it doesn't take much for the grass to just get caught up and not fly through, especially like I said when it was wet. Because I was checking, bag wasn't full, but it was all clumped up in there and spinning around on the blades, which was taking the balance out. I got that little top section done from the shed, in front of the shed here, and just around here, and sort of just out of the top of this spot. And then it started coming down the hill, and it was getting bogged down, and I'd never thought to switch off eco mode. So I did that, and it powered through that stuff a lot better. Battery died here, but then I just turned it on, and I've come all the way down to here on long wettish grass, and it's done pretty well. Batteries just died here. So this is the second set of batteries actually that I've gone through just on this backyard. So I've got to go see if those other ones have charged, otherwise I've got to go and grab the ones from the drills up in the study. Good boy. Morning walk for Batman. Ended up spending the rest of yesterday afternoon just getting that mowing done and getting the weed whacker, the whippersnipper, over the whole yard from the street to the back fence. And I had to redo some parts or a lot of the front yard just lightly, because in the 1 week it had already grown a bit. Got several different grass species in our yard, and some grow really quick, others are sort of a bit slower. Because I did that, a little bit stiff and sore today. Getting a morning walk in for him, it's just gone 8 o'clock. He's got an appointment with the vet at 9, where he's having some lumps removed, one off his belly and one from behind his left armpit basically. We're pretty sure they're both benign. The one on his belly grew really quick. They call it a mushroom style, and it just sort of hangs off the outside of him. And the one behind his armpit, we're pretty sure is just a fatty cyst, but it's quite big. Goes right where his harness is, and you can also feel it. We're pretty sure it's a little uncomfortable. Sometimes he doesn't like you touching it, just in a spot where it's not needed. And he's due for a teeth clean too, so getting several things done at once. He'll be with the vet for the day, or the better part of it. Getting this walk in now because, as you might be able to see, the weather forecast is for it to start raining today for the next week. And I just felt some. Good boy. I'm betting you can see the raindrops on the ground. Not a pretty day, and this kind of started yesterday. Meant to last for at least a week, and the temperature's dropping as well. It's Wednesday. One of the things about being on holiday, you can sometimes lose track of the days, which makes you worry about appointments. Last week I was in the pharmacy. I saw a sign that said that they were doing free hearing checks,
And I've seen those signs before, but they're always like on a Wednesday from 9 till 1. So I could never do it. But I was on holiday, so I booked in. Checked my hearing. It is going down slightly, except in the left ear where it has gone down considerably. This is the ear that has basically been ringing ever since the exhaust pipe in my van exploded while I was leaning over the engine bay trying to start it. It just went boom. Anyway, that was just a basic check. I've booked in today for an additional consult to do a more substantive check of my hearing across more frequencies and just see what it's like. My wife said yes, actually said yesterday. It now makes sense why I often don't hear what she says in the car that well. I've got her sitting like right here, and in her car, which is quieter than this, I won't hear what she says, or I won't hear all of what she says. Hopefully we'll get some better figures and some ideas. If it goes as far as needing a hearing aid, I'm really going to have to look at what sort they have, because when I'm in the workshop, I'm always earplugs in, and if a hearing aid would interfere with that, I'd just have to take the hearing aid out. But then I'd need it in class to be able to hear the kids. It'll be an adjustment. I know my dad has hearing aids, and they're little ones that go into his ear and connect to his phone via Bluetooth. My boss at work has a hearing aid or hearing aids. I think he's got one. Anyway, he's the ones that sort of clip up behind the ear with just a little wire that go into the ear. Thinking too far ahead. Batman's surgery went well yesterday. A really big scar behind his left shoulder where there was a big fatty cyst removed, lipoma. I haven't had a very close look on his right rear flank, like his rear leg, but he had the main mushroom lump taken off his belly, but he had a couple of hard ones on his thigh, which were similar to the precancerous ones he had before. So we're getting the mushroom one and those sent off for testing. Long-time viewers of the channel would have remembered me buying my table saw, my DeWalt table saw, and it came with this table to go with it. And I always thought that looks really flimsy. Well, I still haven't gotten around to doing anything else, and I still had this here. I couldn't sell it. So this is what the table saw is getting set up on. I've actually been clearing out this area under the house just to clear it out, because we had excess cardboard and stuff down here, bubble wrap, all that sort of thing. I've tidied it up, got rid of a lot of the cardboard, and I now have this space here. For now, I'm thinking of using my saw down in this spot, because I'm trying to put our new double blinds up, and because of the way these windows are with the screen on the inside, the old blinds used to be right up hard against it, and the brackets for these are a lot bigger and they stick out further, and they go past part of the frame. The frame sort of jumps and does this sort of stuff.
steps. And my wife said, well, why don't you put another piece of timber there to put that onto, because she didn't like that, the way the frame was stepped out anyway. I did my measurements. The timber needs to be 19 by 10 and a bit. That's millimeters, so 3/4 of an inch by roughly 3/8. The reason I'm thinking of setting up in there is because this is what it looks like out here, and it's been on and off, raining, pouring all day, and it's just getting worse. So I couldn't set up anything out here. I considered setting up just in the doorway of the laundry, but if I needed to step around the saw, I couldn't do it. So setting up in there, I remember building stuff in there over a decade ago before stuff was in there, and that was janky, let me just say that. I'm pretty sure I've got some 19mm pine in this shed, which I could strip 10mm strips off. They need to be roughly 870 long, and a little bit of filing at the back edge of it to get around some of the way the window's shaped. So I'll get this saw under here and see what I think. Case in point, I've just come into the shed to see if I've got timber in here, and they've just started again. It's even heavier now. This is very frustrating. Other long-term subscribers may also remember me having a small Bosch tool bag that I was putting all of the accessories in because I couldn't find a spot for all the accessories. And after that, well, I knew this one went here. I think I'd what is that one? This part goes in here. And there's a spot for rolling up your cord. And that's where the push stick goes, up under here, which is inside the fence. What else was there? Might have just been that. But yeah, when I found that I went, oh, okay, never mind. This seriously is the first time that this is being used. Still got its plastic thing on it. I think I bought this 16 months ago now. This is very sad. Okay, this is literally the first time this has ever been turned on. Show you this. Saw a flash of light, so I'll turn the flash off here. Oh. Now my thoughts on that is this is an older brushed motor. Let me just have a look at that. Yep, this is an older style brush motor. It's one way of keeping cost down on power tools. And being that this is the first ever time that this has been switched on, there's going to be a little bit of sparky and wear in of the brushes.
But that just caught me by surprise when I turned it on, and when I turned it off, I saw a flash on the wall behind me. And I thought it was my power point on the floor. Because you can see the conduit here, because we've been in the middle of renovations, it's just sort of out from the wall. It's not quiet. I don't know what it sounds like without the hearing protection in. And I'm definitely going to be wearing my hearing protection after having my hearing thing today, my hearing assessment. I'll tell you about that a bit later. Now that it's been turned on and off a couple of times, I'm going to do that first cut. What I plan on doing is, this is relatively straight down this side. You can see a slight kick at one end, where it just kicks that way right at the end. But this side has a few little deviations to it. This part has some melamine on it. So I'm going to run this through once just to get a nice clean cut along one side, and then I can set this side against the fence, move this into my 10 and a bit mil. Much better than my old janky saw. Next job is to sort out some dust extraction, because that's still floating around in the air.
Alright, now I can give my honest first impressions. The fence is rock steady. Once you get that locked, it's not going anywhere. And I really liked that when it locked, it didn't move at all. Like sometimes you can get a little bit of tweak one way or the other when you're actually locking. That actually happens on the old saw at work, and that's a big cabinet saw. I like that you've really got to push the button to turn it on, because those few sort of false starts, whereas where I didn't press the button quite. My phone filled up yesterday while I was trying to give my first impressions of this as a use. So, first impressions. Loud, but I don't think it's any louder than my current saw, which isn't operational at the moment. Sturdiness, like I really didn't give much bank on this being sturdy, but when you look at it, the front legs are pretty close to your tool. The back legs do extend out a long way to avoid that kind of tip up. So I didn't give this the credit it deserved. Amount of dust that kind of flew up from the saw while here, there was a little bit. Most of it did get ejected out the back, which was good. There's a little bit of slop in here, but it does slide fairly well. I don't think there's no adjustment in it. I think I said before, I like the action for the fence. And I like that when you lock it, it locks it in place. It doesn't adjust it slightly like our saw at work. When I was setting it up the first time, because I wanted to do a really close cut, the fence had to be set up on this pin here, which is a closer one. When you are doing wider pieces, there's another pin just here that you set it up on, and it gives you more width, but it also means that it doesn't wind over as far because you're doing. I think that's clever, and I noticed that the marker on the ruler, when it was on 0 here, the fence was just touching the edge of the blade. So it can be adjusted, it can be like calibrated, but I think it was calibrated to the 0 right out of the box. I haven't checked the next measurements because you can see that it starts at 20 mil or 20 centimeters, 200 mil, 8 inches. I do like that it has you've got to be purposeful with your start. The stop is really easy, but the start, I had a few false starts because I wasn't pressing it hard enough, which is much better than my old saw, which has a light switch as its on-off switch. It's very janky. I'm pleased with this. It felt really clean. Obviously, being a brand new cut, there was no pushback against the timber as I was sawing it through. The piece I had was just pine, but it did feed through really cleanly. I'm going to have to see about getting a 0 clearance plate made for when I'm doing fine cuts. And yeah, I don't usually cross cut on a table saw, especially with the miter gauge. I have created a simple little sled at work, so I think because we've got the double slots here, we'll probably create a some form of sled or miter thing for supporting larger timber, and that'll give that 0 clearance cut as well. But yeah, yesterday, first time using it, really enjoyed it. Pleased with my purchase. I wish it hadn't taken me 16 months to use it.